enjoy making it.
And for added pleasure, there's a big supply of crystal clear 7-Up in the refrigerator.
Welcome to the Explorers Club and another tale of...
There are many palate-pleasing delights. Your family will agree fresh bakery goods are a delightful addition to every meal.
It was hot in the desert when before me appeared the solution to the heat. Cool sportswear in the latest styles and fabrics.
You'll enjoy eating it.
Before television, movie theaters entertained us. Through it all, there was advertising. The channel-changing generation of today is accustomed to seeing 30-second spots. But before the remote control, audiences flocked to the theaters to see fantastic Hollywood productions. As the golden age of Hollywood reached its peak, so did screen advertising, and the cream of the crop was the Alexander Film Company in Colorado Springs. The heart and the soul of the Alexander Film Company were the owners, brothers J. Don and Don M. Alexander. They started off small, projecting their first ads on the side of a shoe store with a French kerosene lamp, charging local merchants 4 cents a week to advertise. After realizing that their business would be more successful elsewhere, the brothers packed up and moved, eventually landing in Englewood, Colorado, where their business took flight, literally.
Some of the salesmen had very large sales territories, and J. Don, who believed in flying, he was the 17th man to be licensed as a pilot in the United States. He really believed in that kind of travel. And so he developed this airplane first for the sales force. He wanted his salesmen to have one of these so they could get around these big territories. And the more of them that were seen, the more popular the plane became. And then they began manufacturing them for the general public in big numbers. They developed 2 airplanes, the Eagle Rock and the Bullet, that were extremely well liked by the public. Lindbergh would like to have had a Eagle Rock to make his flight in, but we couldn't deliver it when he wanted it.
But a fire caused from a short-circuited fan at the airplane factory forced a hasty move to Colorado Springs.
And it all happened because in the room where they applied this so-called dope, which was highly inflammable, the doors swung in. And when this explosion happened, the people rushed to these doors, pushed against them, and there were several that perished in that fire. And the company had a lot of bad press.
Even with legal charges mounting against the Alexander brothers, the Alexander Film family still backed the brothers with constant support.
I do know, too, that the Alexanders left Denver, and they were going to move to Colorado Springs anyway. The plant here was almost completed when this fire in Denver happened, and they just made the move a lot faster. In fact, they moved the film company down here overnight. That's how loyal the film company members were. They all pitched in and worked all night, getting everything together so they could get out of town.
One thing seemingly may have followed the company's move, something that still inhabits the building now owned by the KKTV television station.
The spirit that inhabits this building is probably a former employee of either Alexander Studios or whoever was in the building before that. I caught a glimpse through the corner of my eye, a woman walking through this room right here, a heavy-set woman. She was looked to be in her mid-30s, maybe 40 years old. I followed her out of the room, followed her up the stairs, and she vanished up in the top room up here.
Now settled into their new location, the brothers were ready to focus on their main business enterprise, advertising, a way of advertising that would help the company flourish in wealth and prosperity for several decades.
I think that everything centered on the sales force, and they worked very hard to develop a really strong sales force. And it wasn't hard to do because they paid high commissions. And there are always men wanting to work for Alexander's because of those high commissions.
Not only did the Alexander brothers have an uncanny sales force, but they also had an unbeatable sales strategy. hiring salesmen that had the last name of Alexander.
Well, the reason, of course, that meant that he could walk into the client and say, I am Mr. Charles Alexander of Alexander Film Company. And they'd think they had the big shot. And they would, of course, submit to his ideas about how the little spot would be, and money, money, money.
With their business rapidly growing, the Alexander Film Company quickly became the largest employer in Colorado Springs, and it was a popular place to work because of the Alexander brothers themselves.
Alexander did not pay very big wages. They were pretty sad. But the perks went on and on and on.
Well, they ran their business like they wanted everybody to feel like they were part of the Alexander family. That was the concept. The time I went to work there, they had a retirement plan, and they had bonus. Every Christmas they had give bonuses out.
J. Don always passed out turkeys at Christmas time. Hams were passed out at Easter time. When the circus would come to town, J. Don would buy a great block of tickets, and he'd walk through the plant giving everybody tickets. And that man, it was amazing, would know how many tickets every member needed. He'd know that this guy had 3 kids, that guy had 2 kids. It was amazing, and he knew all their names. And he never wanted to be called Mr. Alexander. He was J. Don to everybody.
Well, J. Don was, he was more of a sales type person. He had more outgoing personality. DM was, I never really talked to DM. He was more of a quieter type person. Most of his contact was just with the engineering department and those people.
Don M. was the head of the production department. He was a brilliant man. He was a Rhodes Scholar, and he developed the Alexander color system. He developed a lot of the equipment that was used on the stage and in the laboratory. He was a very, very smart man.
The Alexander Film Company wasn't the largest employer for no reason. Because of a substantial client base, they were always in demand during the Golden Age.
They were doing fine. They were the world's largest, theater advertising company. And in fact, there were several other companies in the business, and I think that Alexander, I don't know, but I think Alexander Film also had a part of their business. I think that they might have kind of had a monopoly on the thing, because the only really competition they had was MPA out of New Orleans. Carl Maybury was their only main competition.
This demand for the Alexander film advertising led to some of the most interesting ad films of the time. From car ads to ads for 7-Up, the heyday of the Alexander Film Company created something that many love to remember.
And what I liked best about that was that I didn't have to wear a collar anymore. Because if you're a writer, you have to go and talk to the client, and you have to look proper. And I looked proper with it. Now, when you're a director, you can just have an open shirt. You can even wear a beret if you want to. And you sit in a chair, and I like that, and somebody comes behind you and your name is on it. For a while, it was the biggest topic of Alexander Film Company, was just how far can you get before you are cheating on the public. And it could be said that sometimes we cheated on the public.
Others don't believe in growing old at all. They own a Honda. Optional push-button starting, 3-speed transmission, automatic clutch, and a 4-stroke 50cc engine give you get-up-and-go action. And a Honda doesn't gulp gas, just sips it. 225 miles to a gallon. Baby, it's like flying. Honda's dual cam type brakes on both wheels mean real braking safety. A Honda's for the young at heart of any age. It's fun to own a Honda. Honda, world's biggest seller.
In automobiles, for instance, how on earth do you get an great big old boat of an automobile that corners like that, how do you get it going zoom, 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 like this? Because filmmaking is really a lot of trickery. It's not what you see.
And the car of the year sets a great new performance record.
This is one of their most prized and fascinating film ads. A helicopter flew the shell of a car, an actress, and a technician to the top of a butte in Utah. The technician was asked to hide under the car because the actress did not want to be up on the butte alone. After the filming was complete, the wind became so strong that the helicopter could not get in close enough to get them. It wasn't until dusk that they were able to rescue the actress and the technician. As scary as it was, the groundbreaking ad film won several awards and has been replicated numerous times, even in today's technologically advanced society.
With styling that brings you back to look and look again, Chevrolet stands alone. Alone in pure dedication to beauty and relaxation.
Of course, to try and bring in the right cars at the right time and get them back up out of places that you shouldn't have put them in the first place. But it seemed to work out all right.
With the advent of a little thing called television and increasing pressure on the Alexander brothers, the film company became the center of an ever-increasing whirlwind.
It just about ruined the company. When TV came along, there were about 17,000 theaters running Alexander movie ads. And a few years after TV came along, those theaters began closing. The one thing that sort of saved the company during those years was the drive-in theater. It became popular. And during the summer months, business was pretty good. But the volume really fell off after TV came along. One thing I remember very, very well was the last conversation I ever had with Jay Don. And this was only a few days before the man died. And we were talking about his life, and I said it must be absolutely wonderful to have lived a life that built an idea into an organization that supported so many hundred families, and to have made friends all over the world. And I said, I will always envy you for what you've done. And he said to me, Leland, we have been total failures. And that really surprised me because I thought he was a great success, multimillionaire with a yacht and his own plane and so on. But he said if we had played our cards right and held on to the aircraft business, we'd have had a factory that would reach from here to the Air Force Academy. He died disappointed.
The absence of Jay Don produced the end of the original Alexander Film Company, and so his death marked the end of an era highlighted by the importance of employees, family, and award-winning ads, none of which would have been possible without the brilliance of Don M., or most importantly, the charismatic personality of Jay Don.